In a small village surrounded by rolling hills and thick forests, there lived a young girl named Lena. Her family was poor, barely able to make enough money to buy food and clothing. Lena's father worked in the fields from sunrise to sunset, while her mother spent long hours cooking, cleaning, and taking care of the younger children. Despite their hard work, there were days when the family went to bed with empty stomachs. Lena often watched her parents with sadness in her heart, wishing she could do something to make life easier for them. Lena was a small girl, with bright eyes that always seemed to be full of questions. She loved to learn and would listen carefully whenever anyone in the village shared stories or taught something new. But there was no school in her village, and her family could not afford to send her to the city for education. So, she learned from what she saw around her: the changing seasons, the growth of plants, and the behavior of animals in the forest. Every morning, Lena would wake up before the sun, helping her mother prepare breakfast and taking care of her younger siblings. Then she would go to the nearby fields or the forest to gather firewood and water. The forest was dense and dangerous, filled with thorny bushes, uneven paths, and wild animals that sometimes strayed close to the village. Most villagers avoided going deep into it, but Lena had no choice. Her family needed wood to cook food and to keep warm during the cold nights. One chilly morning, Lena stepped into the forest with a small basket in her hand. The fog hung low over the ground, and the sound of birds and rustling leaves filled the air. She moved carefully, avoiding roots and slippery patches of moss. Despite the dangers, she felt at peace in the forest. It was quiet and alive at the same time, and she loved the way the sunlight danced through the trees. She often imagined stories about the creatures that lived in the shadows, and sometimes she pretended she was an explorer discovering new lands. As Lena walked deeper into the forest, she noticed a small clearing with wildflowers and soft grass. She knelt down to pick some flowers for her mother, who loved to decorate their small home with them. Suddenly, she heard a faint sound, like a cry. She paused, listening carefully. The sound came again, weak and shaky. Her heart beat faster. Most people would have ignored it, thinking it was just an animal or the wind, but Lena could not. She was curious and kind-hearted, and she felt she needed to help whoever or whatever was in trouble. Following the sound, Lena carefully pushed aside branches and moved closer. There, under a fallen tree, lay a young boy. His leg was trapped beneath the heavy wood, and he looked frightened and in pain. His clothes were torn, and his face was streaked with dirt and tears. Lena's heart sank at the sight, but she quickly reminded herself that she had to stay calm and think clearly. She spoke softly to the boy, trying to calm him down. "Don't worry, I will help you," she said. He looked up at her with wide eyes, unsure if he could trust her. Lena smiled gently, her hands steady, despite the fear running through her. She searched around for something to lift the tree. There were no strong tools nearby, just fallen branches and stones. Lena thought for a moment, then positioned some sturdy sticks under the tree to create leverage. She pushed with all her strength, her muscles straining. The boy cried out in pain, but Lena did not give up. Finally, with one last effort, the tree shifted enough for her to pull his leg free. The boy collapsed onto the ground, breathing heavily. Lena sat beside him, helping him rest and offering water from her small flask. She noticed that he was shivering and covered him with a shawl she carried for emergencies. As he slowly regained his composure, Lena realized how brave she had been. She was still scared, but she had not let fear stop her from helping someone in need. After a while, the boy was able to move, though his legs still hurt. Lena helped him stand and guided him slowly out of the forest. The sun had climbed higher in the sky, and the shadows of the trees stretched long across the ground. Birds chirped, and the breeze carried the fresh scent of leaves and soil. Lena felt a strange mixture of relief and pride. She had done something extraordinary, something that might change both of their lives forever. As they reached the edge of the forest, a traveler appeared on the path. He was a man in his 40s, dressed in simple but neat clothing, and he looked surprised to see a young girl helping a boy. He stopped and watched for a moment before approaching. "Did you save him?" he asked, his voice full of curiosity and admiration. Lena nodded quietly, feeling a bit shy under his gaze. Yes, he was trapped. I had to help him, she replied. The traveler examined the boy, checking if he was hurt badly. After making sure the boy would be fine, he turned to Lena. "You are very brave," he said. Lena blushed, unused to receiving such praise. She had never thought of herself as brave. She had just done what she felt was right. The traveler smiled and handed her a small coin, which she hesitated to take, but he insisted. "This is for your courage," he said. Lena thanked him quietly, feeling a strange warmth in her chest. She had never been recognized for anything before, and it felt good to know that her actions mattered. The boy's family, who had been searching for him, arrived shortly after and embraced him with tears of relief. They thanked Lena repeatedly, but she waved them off, saying it was nothing. In her heart, though, she knew it had been everything. She had faced danger, helped someone in need, and come out stronger. That evening, Lena returned home to her small hut. Her parents were worried when they saw her late, but their worry turned to amazement as she told them the story. They could hardly believe what she had done. Her mother hugged her tightly, and her father's eyes were filled with pride. For the first time, Lena felt that she had made a real difference in the world, even in her small way, as night fell. Lena lay on her simple bed, staring at the ceiling. She thought about the boy, the forest, and the traveler. She wondered what might happen next, if her life would change because of what she had done. For the first time, she felt a spark of hope, a feeling that maybe, just maybe, life could be different for her and her family. She did not know it yet. But this act of courage was only the beginning of a journey that would change her life forever. The days after Lena's brave act in the forest were filled with a strange mixture of excitement and nervousness. Everyone in the village had heard about what she had done, and her story spread quickly. Villagers stopped her in the streets to praise her courage. Children followed her, wanting to hear every detail about how she had lifted the tree and saved the boy. Lena felt proud, but also a little overwhelmed. She had never thought of herself as special or brave. She had simply done what felt right. Yet now, it seemed that everyone around her believed she was extraordinary. The boy she had saved, named Arif, recovered quickly, and his parents were full of gratitude. They visited Lena's family every day, bringing small gifts of food or fruit from their garden, always reminding her that she had changed their lives. Lena's parents were both proud and worried. They were proud because their daughter had acted with courage, but worried because they feared that more people would expect her to risk herself in dangerous situations. Lena, however, remained humble. She said little about her actions, preferring to focus on her daily tasks and helping her family. One morning, as Lena was collecting water from the river near the edge of the forest, the same traveler who had seen her act approached her again. This time, he seemed different, more serious and focused. Lena greeted him politely, remembering his kind words and the coin he had given her. He introduced himself properly and explained that he had traveled from the city to support education and social programs for children who came from poor backgrounds. Lena listened carefully, curious about everything he said. The traveler asked her many questions about her life, her family, and her daily responsibilities. He wanted to understand her world and the challenges she faced. Lena answered honestly, explaining how her family struggled to make ends meet and how she had no opportunity to attend school. She spoke about her dreams quietly, afraid to sound foolish, but the traveler encouraged her, saying that dreams were the first step toward a better life. His words made her feel a warmth she had never experienced before, a sense that someone outside her small village truly cared about her future. Over the next few days, the traveler returned several times, observing Lena in her daily life. He watched as she helped her mother cook and clean, collected water and firewood, and cared for her younger siblings. He noticed her patience, her intelligence, and her kindness. Unlike many adults in the village who were too busy with their own struggles to pay attention, he saw Lena's potential. He realized that with the right guidance and support, she could achieve things far beyond what anyone in the village imagined. One evening, as the sun dipped below the horizon and painted the sky in shades of pink and orange, the traveler approached Lena's home. He spoke to her parents, explaining that he wanted to offer Lena a scholarship to study in the city. Her parents were initially shocked. They had never imagined that such an opportunity could come to them. and the thought of sending their young daughter far away brought both hope and fear. Lena, however, felt a mixture of excitement and nervousness. The city was unknown and intimidating, but it was also a place where she could learn and grow, where she could escape the limits of her small village and make a future for herself. After long discussions with her parents, they agreed to let Lena accept the offer. They knew it was a chance she could not miss, even if it meant she would be far away from home. Lena packed her few belongings carefully, holding each item with a sense of reverence. Her small shawl, the water flask she always carried, and a notebook she had made from scraps of paper, these were her treasures. They reminded her of home, her family, and the forest where she had shown such courage. The journey to the city was overwhelming for Lena. She had never traveled far from her village, and the busy streets, the tall buildings, and the constant noise were a shock to her senses. People rushed past her, speaking in languages and dialects she had never heard. Cars honked, buses roared, and neon lights flashed everywhere. Lena held tightly to the traveler's hand, feeling both scared and amazed. She thought about her family in the forest, about the boy she had saved, and drew strength from the memories of her bravery. Once in the city, Lena was introduced to the school she would attend. It was a large building with classrooms, a library, and a playground, all things she had never seen before. The teachers welcomed her warmly, impressed by her story and her determination. Lena quickly realized that learning in the city would be different from anything she had experienced. There were books she could read, experiments she could do, and lessons that went beyond anything she had imagined. She felt both excitement and pressure, knowing that this was her chance to succeed. Despite the initial challenges, Lena adapted quickly. She worked hard, waking up early to study before classes and staying late to complete her assignments. She faced moments of doubt, especially when she struggled to understand new concepts, or when classmates laughed at her rural accent and simple background. But she remembered the forest, the boy she had saved, and the courage it had taken to act. That memory gave her strength and determination. Slowly, her confidence grew, and she began to excel in her studies. Outside of school, Lena also discovered new friendships. Other children, some from similar backgrounds, some from wealthier families, began to recognize her kindness and honesty. They admired her dedication and often asked her for help in understanding lessons or completing projects. Lena learned to navigate this new world, balancing her schoolwork, her new friendships, and the longing she felt for her family back in the village, even as she adjusted to life in the city. Lena never forgot where she came from. She thought about her parents, her siblings, and the forest where she had taken her first steps into courage. She wrote letters to her family, describing the city and her experiences and sending small gifts whenever she could. She shared her lessons and her stories, hoping to inspire her siblings to dream big and work hard, even in the face of hardship. Meanwhile, the traveler who had brought Lena to the city continued to mentor her. He introduced her to other people who supported education and social programs. He encouraged her to think beyond her own life, to consider how she could help others in similar situations. Lena absorbed everything she could, realizing that education was not just a path to personal success, but also a way to make a difference in the world. Months turned into years, and Lena's dedication began to show results. She won recognition for her academic performance and her commitment to helping others. Teachers and mentors praised her, but Lena remained humble. She remembered the forest, the boy she had saved, and the simple life she had left behind. Those memories kept her grounded, reminding her that courage, kindness, and determination were the keys to true success. In her heart, Lena carried a sense of purpose. She had been given a rare opportunity, one that could transform her life. But she also understood the responsibility that came with it. She wanted to honor her family, the forest that had shaped her, and the boy whose life she had saved. She wanted to use every lesson, every experience, and every opportunity to grow and to give back. Her journey had only just begun, but already she felt that the act of bravery in the forest had opened doors she had never imagined, and planted the seeds of a future full of hope and possibility. Life in the city was both exciting and challenging for Lena. She had arrived with a small suitcase of belongings, carrying the memories of her village and the forest in her heart. Every day was a new lesson, not only in school, but in life itself. The city was a place of endless possibilities, but it also demanded courage and perseverance. Lena soon realized that she could not rely solely on her bravery from the forest. She had to work hard, think carefully, and adapt quickly to this new world. The first few weeks were overwhelming. The school was huge compared to her tiny village classroom. The subjects were more advanced than anything she had ever studied. Teachers spoke quickly, students moved confidently from one subject to another, and everything seemed to happen at a pace Lena had never experienced. She felt small and unsure of herself, but she reminded herself of the moment in the forest when she had faced danger to save a boy. If she could do that, she could face the challenges of learning in this big city. Lena spent hours each day in the library, poring over books that explained things she had only heard about in stories. She studied arithmetic, reading, writing, science, and history, absorbing as much as she could. The beginning was difficult, and she often made mistakes. Some of her classmates laughed at her accent or her slow pace, but Lena did not let their words hurt her. She focused on what mattered: understanding, learning, and improving herself. As the weeks passed, Lena began to notice small victories. She could solve math problems more quickly, read longer stories without getting confused, and understand lessons in science and history better than before. Teachers began to notice her determination, praising her for her effort and focus. This recognition filled Lena with confidence. She realized that while courage had brought her to the city, diligence and persistence would allow her to thrive. Outside of school, Lena explored the city carefully. She had never seen so many people in one place, and the bright lights and tall buildings were overwhelming at first. She learned to navigate the streets, take buses, and even buy her own food from small markets. Every new experience was a lesson in independence. She learned to be careful with her money, to ask questions when she did not understand something, and to observe the world around her with curiosity and intelligence. Lena also began forming friendships with other students. At first, she was shy and uncertain, worried that her background might make her an outsider. But her kindness, honesty, and willingness to help others soon won people over. Some students admired her for the bravery she had shown in the forest, while others respected her determination and intelligence. Lena discovered that friendship was not only comforting, but also a source of support and encouragement. She learned to rely on others when necessary and to offer help whenever she could. One day, the traveler who had brought her to the city visited the school. He met with Lena and asked her how she was adjusting to her new life. Lena spoke openly about her struggles, her fears, and her successes. The traveler listened carefully and offered advice, encouraging her to continue working hard and to seek opportunities that would allow her to grow. He reminded her that she had a special gift, her courage and her compassion, and that she could use it to make a difference in her own life and in the lives of others. Inspired by the traveler's words, Lena began to set new goals for herself. She wanted to excel in her studies, learn as much as she could, and eventually help children from villages like her own. She thought about the boy she had saved in the forest, about her siblings back home, and about the countless children who did not have access to education. These thoughts became her motivation, driving her to work harder and to embrace every opportunity that came her way. The challenges did not disappear. Lena faced moments of self-doubt, times when she struggled with difficult lessons, and moments when she missed her family terribly. She remembered the nights in her village, lying on the floor with her siblings, listening to the wind in the forest. The memories were bittersweet, reminding her of both what she had left behind and what she was striving to achieve. Each challenge she overcame strengthened her, and each success, no matter how small, encouraged her to keep going. During her first year in the city, Lena also began to notice a difference in herself. She was more confident, more aware of her abilities, and more capable of facing challenges. She had learned to navigate a world very different from her village, to manage her time, and to communicate with people from all walks of life. These skills were invaluable, and she realized that her courage in the forest had been only the beginning. Real courage, she understood now, was about persistence, learning, and using one's abilities to face new challenges. In her second year, Lena was introduced to community programs that allowed students to help others while continuing their studies. She eagerly joined these programs, working with other children to tutor younger students, organize small community events, and help those in need. The work was demanding, but Lena found it fulfilling. She realized that by helping others, she was also growing and learning. The programs taught her leadership, empathy, and the importance of teamwork. Through her dedication, Lena began to gain recognition beyond her school. Teachers, program coordinators, and even local news outlets started to take notice of her story. They admired not only her bravery in the forest, but also her commitment to her studies and her efforts to help others. Lena remained humble, always attributing her success to her parents, her family, and the lessons she had learned in the village and the forest. She understood that gratitude and humility were as important as courage and intelligence. Despite the recognition and accomplishments, Lena remained focused on her long-term goal, to make a lasting difference in the lives of children who, like her, faced poverty and limited opportunities. She dreamed of creating programs, schools, or initiatives that would ensure children had access to education, safety, and guidance. Her experiences in the forest, in her village, and in the city had shaped her vision and fueled her determination. As the years went by, Lena became a role model for other students in her school. Her story of bravery and resilience inspired many to overcome their own fears and obstacles. She learned to speak in public, sharing her journey and encouraging others to pursue their dreams. Lena understood that her life was no longer only about her own survival or success. It was about creating a ripple effect of courage, hope, and opportunity. By the end of her third year in the city, Lena had not only adapted to her new life, but had also grown into a young woman of intelligence, compassion, and strength. She had faced challenges that would have discouraged many, yet she had used them to learn and to grow. Her journey was far from over, but she now had the skills, knowledge, and determination to continue moving forward. The memory of the forest, the boy she saved, and the village that had shaped her remained a guiding light, reminding her of the courage, kindness, and persistence that would define the rest of her life. By the time Lena reached her fourth year in the city, she had grown into a young woman of quiet strength and determination. The city, which had once seemed so overwhelming, now felt like a place full of possibilities. Lena had learned to navigate its streets, its schools, and its social circles with confidence. Since said for said I send some ascendant sets and sense and sense and sess and it's since as if I sets ties and since lessons since every lesson she learned, every opportunity she seized, she carried with a sense of purpose that reached beyond herself. Lena's academic achievements had begun to attract attention from teachers, mentors, and community leaders. She excelled in her studies, often staying late in the library to research topics that fascinated her. Science and literature became her favorite subjects, and she found joy in discovering new ideas and perspectives. Her curiosity was insatiable, and she often shared what she learned with classmates who were struggling. Her humility and willingness to help others made her a beloved figure among students, teachers, and community members alike. One day, the traveler who had first brought her to the city returned. He had been keeping track of her progress and wanted to meet with her. Lena welcomed him warmly, feeling a mixture of pride and nervousness. The traveler spoke of new opportunities for Lena, programs that would allow her to expand her knowledge, meet other bright young people, and contribute to meaningful projects. He emphasized that these opportunities were rare and required dedication, focus, and courage, the same qualities she had shown in the forest so many years ago. Lena eagerly accepted the challenge. She understood that this was her chance not only to improve her life, but also to prepare herself to help others. She worked harder than ever, balancing her schoolwork with community programs, mentorship sessions, and personal study. Her days were long and demanding, but she found energy in her purpose. She reminded herself that every step forward was a step toward changing the lives of children like her, and toward honoring the sacrifices of her family. Through the traveler's guidance, Lena became involved in community outreach projects. She worked with local schools and organizations to tutor younger children, organize educational activities, and provide support to families in need. These experiences taught her valuable lessons about leadership, empathy, and the challenges faced by those living in poverty. She saw firsthand the barriers that prevented children from accessing education and resources, and her determination to make a difference grew stronger with each encounter. Despite her growing responsibilities, Lena never neglected her studies. She discovered a natural talent for problem-solving and critical thinking, which allowed her to excel in science projects and academic competitions. Teachers were impressed by her creativity and analytical skills, noting that she combined intelligence with compassion in a way that set her apart. Lena herself felt a sense of fulfillment, knowing that her hard work was preparing her for a future in which she could make a lasting impact. Her social life also began to flourish. Lena developed close friendships with students from diverse backgrounds. They shared experiences, supported one another, and learned together. Some of her friends were from wealthy families, yet they respected her not for her background but for her dedication, kindness, and integrity. Lena learned to navigate social dynamics, understanding that true respect came from character and action rather than status or wealth. One day, Lena received an invitation to participate in a citywide youth leadership program. The program was designed to identify young people with potential and train them to become leaders in their communities. Lena was thrilled. She saw this as an opportunity to expand her skills, meet mentors, and gain exposure to new ideas. She worked tirelessly to prepare her application, writing essays about her life, her experiences in the forest, and her goals for the future. When she was accepted, she felt a surge of pride and responsibility. This was not just an achievement for herself, but a chance to represent children like her and demonstrate the power of courage and determination. The leadership program introduced Lena to a network of inspiring individuals. She met mentors who had overcome adversity, community leaders who dedicated their lives to helping others, and peers who shared her passion for making a difference. The experiences were challenging. She was pushed to think critically, speak publicly, and solve complex problems. At first, Lena felt nervous and unsure of herself. But she drew strength from the memory of the forest, the boy she had saved, and the lessons she had learned from her family. Step by step, she gained confidence, realizing that she was capable of achieving more than she had ever imagined. During one of the program's workshops, Lena was tasked with leading a small team to design a project that would benefit a community. She proposed creating a learning and support program for children in underserved neighborhoods, focusing on literacy, mentorship, and skill-building activities. Her team was inspired by her vision, and together they developed a plan, organized resources, and implemented the program. Seeing the children engage, learn, and smile brought Lena immense satisfaction. She understood that her courage, once demonstrated in a dangerous forest, now had a far-reaching impact in the lives of many. Throughout this time, Lena remained deeply connected to her family. She wrote letters and sent gifts whenever possible, sharing her experiences and achievements with them. Her parents were proud beyond words, amazed by how their daughter had grown from a young girl gathering firewood in the forest to a young woman leading community projects in the city. They often reminded her of the values she had learned at home: honesty, kindness, humility, and perseverance. Lena carried these lessons with her, letting them guide her actions and decisions. Lena also found moments of quiet reflection. On weekends, she would visit a small park near her home, sit under a tree, and think about the journey that had brought her here. She remembered the forest, the fear and determination that had guided her, and the boy she had saved. Those memories remained a source of strength, reminding her that courage was not only about facing danger, but also about taking responsibility, helping others, and striving for a better future. By the end of her 4th year, Lena had achieved remarkable growth. She had excelled academically, developed leadership skills, made meaningful friendships, contributed to her community in tangible ways. She had become a young woman of vision, ready to take on new challenges and continue her journey toward making a lasting difference. Her life, once limited by poverty and circumstance, had expanded into a world full of opportunities, each one a chance to honor the bravery she had shown in the forest and the lessons she had learned along the way. Lena understood that her journey was far from over. There were still many obstacles to overcome, more skills to learn, and countless children who needed guidance and support. Yet she faced the future with courage, determination, and a heart full of compassion. She knew that one act of bravery in the forest had set the course of her life, but it was her continued perseverance, her willingness to learn, and her commitment to helping others that would define her destiny. Every day was a new opportunity, and Lena was ready to embrace it fully, carrying with her the strength, wisdom, and hope that had guided her from the very beginning. Lena's 5th year in the city was a turning point in her life. She had grown into a young woman with confidence, intelligence, and a deep understanding of the world around her. Her past, filled with hardship and courage, had prepared her for challenges that many could not imagine. Yet, even with all her achievements and knowledge, she remained humble and compassionate, never forgetting the village, the forest, or the people who had shaped her early life. The leadership programs she participated in had now evolved into opportunities to take on bigger projects. Lena was offered a position to lead a citywide initiative, aimed to bring education and support to children living in poverty. This project was massive, involving coordination with schools, local organizations, and volunteers. Lena accepted eagerly, knowing this was her chance to make a real difference. She spent long hours planning, organizing, and motivating her team. Her natural ability to lead, combined with her empathy and insight, inspired those around her. As the project began, Lena traveled to different neighborhoods to meet children and families. She listened to their stories, understanding the challenges they faced. From financial hardship to limited access to schools and healthcare, Lena was determined not to let these obstacles stop her. She coordinated volunteers, arranged resources, and designed programs that were practical, engaging, and effective. She taught children basic skills, encouraged their curiosity, and helped them discover the joy of learning. Slowly, the initiative began to take shape, and Lena saw the first signs of impact. Children who had once been shy or withdrawn were now participating actively, eager to learn and full of hope. During this time, Lena also reconnected with the boy she had saved in the forest years ago. Arif had grown into a strong and determined young man, and he had never forgotten Lena's bravery. Hearing of her work in the city, he came to visit her, bringing memories of the past and stories of his own journey. Their reunion was filled with warmth and gratitude, a reminder that acts of courage could create lasting bonds and influence lives in ways one could never predict. Lena and Arif often spoke about their experiences, sharing ideas and encouragement as they both worked to help others. Lena's family continued to play a central role in her life. Though she was far from her village, she stayed connected through letters, phone calls, and occasional visits. She shared her successes with her parents and siblings, and they shared their own joys and struggles. Her parents were immensely proud seeing the young woman their daughter had become. They knew that the bravery and kindness she had shown in the forest had blossomed into a life dedicated to helping others. Lena drew strength from their support, remembering that her roots were a source of grounding and inspiration. As the city project expanded, Lena faced new challenges. There were bureaucratic hurdles, unexpected delays, and moments when the sheer scale of the work felt overwhelming. She often worked late into the night, thinking carefully about each decision, weighing the needs of the children and families she served. There were times when she felt exhausted and uncertain, but she never gave up. She reminded herself of the forest, the tree she had lifted, and the courage that had defined her from the beginning. Every obstacle became an opportunity to learn, adapt, and improve. The success of Lena's initiative began to attract attention from local media, philanthropists, and community leaders. They admired not only the outcomes of her work, but also the way she led with empathy, integrity, and determination. Lena was invited to speak at conferences, share her story, and inspire others to take action. She often spoke about the importance of courage, perseverance, and compassion, using her own life as an example of how one act could change not just a single life but ripple outward to touch countless others. Despite the recognition, Lena remained focused on the children and families she served. She made sure that every decision she took, every program she implemented, was guided by their needs and well-being. She understood that true success was measured not by awards or praise, but by the lives she could improve, the opportunities she could create. She celebrated each small victory with her team, the children who learned to read, the families who received support, and the communities that began to thrive. Lena also began mentoring younger students who showed potential but lacked guidance. She taught them how to pursue their dreams, overcome obstacles, and remain grounded in kindness and integrity. She shared her story of the forest, explaining that bravery was not just about physical acts, but also about facing fears, taking responsibility, and helping others whenever possible. Her words resonated deeply, inspiring the next generation to dream bigger and work harder. Over time, Lena's influence extended beyond the city. Her programs were replicated in neighboring towns, spreading the impact of her vision and leadership. She collaborated with organizations, schools, and government agencies to create sustainable support systems for children in need. Lena's journey from a poor girl in a village to a respected leader in the city became a symbol of hope, resilience, and the power of courage combined with action. Yet, through all her accomplishments, Lena remained humble. She often returned to the forest where her journey had begun. Walking among the trees, listening to the birds, and feeling the earth beneath her feet reminded her of the beginnings of her story. The forest had taught her bravery, perseverance, and compassion, lessons that guided her every day. She remembered the boy trapped under the tree, the fear she had felt, and the determination that had pushed her to act. Those memories remained a source of strength, grounding her in the values that had shaped her life. As Lena looked back on her journey, she realized that one brave act in the forest had truly changed everything. It had opened doors, created opportunities, and inspired countless others. But she also understood that it was her continued dedication, her willingness to work hard, and her compassion that had transformed her life and the lives of so many around her. Courage alone had not been enough. It was courage combined with persistence, empathy, and action that had made the difference. In the end, Lena had not only changed her own life, but had created a legacy of hope and opportunity. She had shown that even the smallest person, from the humblest beginnings, could make a profound impact on the world. Her story was a testament to the power of bravery, the importance of education, and the enduring strength of kindness. She continued to work tirelessly, guided by the memories of her village, the forest, and the boy she had saved, knowing that every step she took could light the way for others. Lena's journey, full of challenges and triumphs, had come full circle. From a small girl gathering firewood to a young woman leading initiatives that transformed lives, she had lived a story of resilience, courage, and hope. And as she looked toward the future, she knew that her journey was far from over. There were still children to inspire, communities to uplift, and opportunities to create. Yet she faced the future with confidence, knowing that one act of bravery had started it all, and that her heart, determination, and compassion would continue to guide her every step of the way.